Audio Jungle.
See about the details of component organizer. So in the component organizer, it provides the components which are required by Ab Initio to develop your graphs. So when you are in the need of developing your graph applications, your component organizer gives the details of each component and it is categorized according to their functions. And within that component organizer itself, you can see the components names and a small description which displays what is that component and what is the purpose of that particular component. To get the component organizer in your Ab Initio GD screen, you have to go to GD menu bar, choose view and then component organizer, or you can choose F9 which toggles between the views of component organizer. If you press one time, component organizer will come up, and if you press again, it will go off. So you can use F9 to toggle between the views. So here are the basic component categories that you will see in component categories window. So in the right side, I have the screenshot for the same. So if you can see, the several components are listed according to their functions and are categorized into different folders. See, the components which are related to sort are placed under sort folder. Let me discuss about the different folders which are present under component categories. Continuous components, database components, datasets, interchange components, internet metadata, miscellaneous, partitioning components, sort components, transform, translate, validate and XML. So as you see, different components are in different folders. So if you want to say perform any data manipulation or transformation of the real data, mostly you'll be using the components which are present inside the transform components. So and we have datasets. So those are the components which provide your input or target data, and then database components which helps you to connect to the databases. Ab Initio supports a wide variety of databases ranging from Oracle to HDFS connectors, so you can use any of the database components to connect to the databases. And then we have partitioning components, sort components and the rest. Let's see an input file component which is present under dataset. So input file component is one of the prominently used component which is present under dataset folder. So it is used to read a serial file or a multi-file in Ab Initio. So multi-file is nothing but having different data partitions and one control partitions. I have attached the screenshot which shows the input file component here. So from the view in the GD itself, we can see whether it is an input file, serial or a multi-file. So if there are multiple cylindricals here, it is a multi-file. If it turns into a serial file, it will be a single cylinder. So we have to use the single input file component to read a serial file and also a multi-file. There are no important parameters for it. So once we get the input file from the component organizer into our working canvas, we have to specify the input file name along with its absolute path, the layout, where the component is going to run, and the DML, which is used to describe the data which is going to be read into the input port. So once you double click the input file component, you will get the properties window like this. It has different tabs: description, access, parameters and ports. So basically in the description port, you will be giving the input file name along with its path and then a label to identify it. So once you have given the description, the yellow color markings in the description tab will go off. So whenever you insert a component into the GDE canvas, it will be marked with yellow colors. So it specifies that there are some required parameters which still needs to be addressed. So once you finish up all the required parameters, the yellow color markings will be gone and your component is ready to use. And the most important part of specifying the input file parameters is its ports. So port is where we specify the DML which is used to which actually used by Ab Initio to interpret the data which it is reading. So there are different options for ports. Either you can propagate from neighbors, you can use another port in graph, you can use a DML file which has been already created, or you can embed it directly in the component itself. So since it is the first component in a graph, so you can just embed the DML by clicking the embed option and then typing the DML in the record format box. So you can click new here and then you can type the record format DML as you would like. So suppose, consider like if you have an employee file and you want to read the employee data using this input file component. So basically you will be giving the input file name along with its path in the description window. So it will be like this. So in your description window you can just type your employee file path and then the name. So the file specification here specifies your input file is a serial file. Suppose if you are reading a multi-file, then instead of specifying file, you will be specifying M file. So after you specify file or M file, the notation in the GD view changes according to that. You can use parameters also to specify the absolute locations. So here is how you specify the file names. And regarding the DML, you have to go to the ports tab and then you have to click on embed. So that's the option which we are going to use to read this employee file. And we have already discussed about the ports and the DML. So the DML starts with a record and ends with end keyword. So inside this record and end keyword, you have to specify the DML field by field, starting with the data type and then the length of the field and then the name of the field. So since it is an employee file, let's create a sample file with a sample DML with the normal fields like name, ID, city, salary, gender, etc. So let's start with name. So I'm giving a comma delimiter. So till my first comma, it will take it as name, and then I'm giving the ID column, and then you have salary, and then we have string, city, next we have the gender column, followed by the new line character. So I'm using the new line character to have proper readability so that every record ends with a line. So when you are reading the file outside the GDE, you can sense like every record will be in a single line. So basically you will be writing the DML how the file is created before. So this is a format to give your DML. So either you can save it into a file and then you can give the file name using the use file option, or you can just embed it in the component. As you start developing your graphs, you will be propagating the DMLs from the neighboring components. Since this is the first component and we don't have any other component in your graph, we will be embedding the DML inside the component. And then after this, you can propagate. And by default, Abinitio will actually have the option as propagate from neighbors. So once it starts propagating, if you want to change the components layout and the DML, you can just go ahead and edit the DML which you are trying to create. For example, like after reading from the input file, when you want to transform the data, so you will have different record format after that. So in that case, you can just edit that particular component and edit the DML inside it rather than propagating. So once we give this values in the DML, you can click on validate option, which is present here, to check the syntax whether you have created correctly or not. So once you give the DML and file name, your input file is ready to use. We have two modes to give the DML. Either you can type it in the text view, or you can open up the grid view where you can select the available data types and then the length columns. So here you can give the field names, and for the data type, you'll have a combo box, and then you can select from the available list. You can give the length as a pixel length or as a delimiter to delimit the different fields. As it is a dataset component, you can view the data which is present using the Abinitio GDE screen. So once you have given the file name and then the DML, click on apply, OK, come out of the properties window, right click the input file component, you will get multiple options. Go to the option called view data. So this option will be present only in dataset components. So if you click on dataset, if you click on view data, you will see a screen which shows how the data is organized. You will see different columns, which you have given, and the data. So this view data option will be enabled only for dataset components, say like input table, input file, output table, output files. So here we can see what are the different types of data that can be described using Abinitio. So we have both fixed size and variable length data types. Your character sets like ASCII, Unicode, ABCDIC, all those character sets are supported. And then we have different data types ranging from normal string integers to complex real numbers, and then unions, so those vectors, these kinds of data types are supported. So when you want to access the field characteristics, for example, like when you are specifying a date column, you need to specify the date format. So in that case, you can use the attributes pane in the grid view to select the field descriptions. When you want to see the additional attributes, you have to click the attributes item on the record formats editor. Let me show you how this is done. So here we have the record format editor. This is the attributes pane viewing toggle. So if you click on this icon, this extra box will come. So where you can specify the extra attributes for particular column. So you can specify the date format for a date column here. After specifying a new field which has a data type or date time, and then you can specify the format here. If you are not specifying the date format for a date column, during validation it will throw an error. So to correct this, you have to give the proper attributes for each data type. So similar to this, we have output file components.